What I'm trying to create is like the easy button for AI media creation. Like I want anyone to be able to use our tools to do whatever they want without having to really understand too much.
Now, one thing that struck me finding your project was it was hard to find. And when I found it, I was blown away how good it is.
The concept of FullJourney is it's really an homage to Midjourney, who I just think is the most incredible company.
People probably don't picture UFC fighters as computer programmers.
They're usually not. They're usually not. I don't know many other ones. My name's Charles McCarthy. I started in technology in the 90s. Early 90s, I was started like some basic programming stuff, some internet stuff, put up like some websites. And by the late 90s, I was working in technology, was working in digital marketing for a web hosting company. And but it was like a weird thing. I was born in 1980, so like in the late 90s, I was still a teenager, and so I got started working real early in these companies. And I don't know if you remember how it was back then, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do for a living. So I was doing computers at the time, but it didn't seem like that was like a career path for me. I was doing what I was into. I was always hacking stuff as a kid. It always seemed like a natural progression for me. Then at the same time, I started training mixed martial arts. Around early 2000s, I got a UFC contract, and I put all the programming, all the development, everything. I kind of pushed it aside, and I pursued that, and I did that for a little while. I ended up retiring in 2007, I believe, or 2006, somewhere around there. I opened my first gym, and then I opened my second gym, and then I opened a sports agency where I was managing UFC fighters. But all the time that I was doing that, my real love and hobby is I love tinkering, I love programming, I love building things. So like building like these businesses to me were like an extension of that same concept. I like the way businesses run too. The same thing, like it's a lot like programming. So when probably 2014, I got the Oculus DK2 dev kit, and it was like a mind-blowing shift for me with technology. I felt like things had gotten a little stale for me before that with technology. It was basically like, what's the next cool phone coming out or something like that. So I was focused a lot on MMA at the time. And then when VR came out, I was like, wow, this is amazing stuff. I started trying to figure out how to build experiences for VR right away. I built the first live stream of a MMA event in VR. We were building camera rigs at the time, and utilizing different like software and ways of putting it together that would get the job done when it didn't really exist at the time. And it was fun, and I did that again for a few years, and really missed certain aspects of mixed martial arts. So I started up another gym about 5 years ago. It's evolved into different forms, but now it's like the last 3 years I've been running it out of Deerfield. I've got a really nice facility, a couple UFC fighters out of there, and a lot of like students. But my energy more is running that business than teaching, and focused on the relationships with like customers. And so I found myself itching again, like for something technology wise. And around that time, AI started like making its resurgence. It was like VR when I got into it in the 90s or in the late 2000s or mid 2000 teens. It was a resurgence of VR that was around when I was a kid. I remember like we had these VR experiences like at shopping malls and stuff like that in like the early 90s. Um, and they were terrible, but it gave you an idea, like a peek of what was to come. And I know when I first started getting into technology, I would read all about AI and how it was the future. And, they've been working on it since like the 50s and the 60s, concepts of AI. So it didn't really, when I first started hearing AI come around again, it just felt like a buzzword at first. I didn't really think much of it. And then, I had experienced a little bit of like chatbot stuff and I thought it was terrible. And then all of a sudden, I tried Chat GPT and it blew me out of the water, like probably everybody. And it created a seismic shift, probably in the way everyone thought about AI. It went from being like a cool, like gimmicky thing of like basically how do you procedurally generate something to really feeling like you have, I don't know, like a workforce, like a team that's working with you. And you're like the director of this team, and they give you tidbits and you put it together and you orchestrate it. And so I go, okay, well, this is amazing. What can I build with this? And my first thought was, I have 2 kids, and I was like, all right, I've got my business already. Like I'm focused on stuff, but this would be great for my kids. They could start programming and building stuff and starting businesses. My kids are teenagers, and they were like, "Oh, that's cool, Dad," but they really didn't get into it. So I was like, "All right, well, maybe I'll show them what they can do." So I used ChatGPT. Um, Probably started, I want to say, like around the end of the year or January of this year. And I started teaching myself how to do Python with it. I had done some programming before, but never Python. But everything in AI is Python. So I was like, I don't want to goof around. Like, let me just go right to what everyone's using. So I go, okay, I need a platform to be able to deliver things on that I build. And building UIs are complicated and tedious. So I was like, all right, I'm going to build off of Discord like how Midjourney did it. I go, but I want, and I built like a couple other AI interactions, websites and stuff like that, but nothing really that really was good yet. It was just me dabbling like with what existed. And I started learning and figuring it out. Like Midjourney got my attention with the beautiful images they were creating. And I started using their images to create like clothing for my gym. And I go, okay, there's real use application here. So then I was like, man, why can't I make like videos in Midjourney? Why can't I make speech in Midjourney? I didn't really understand what the limitations of AI were yet. I was just like, if the images are so amazing and ChatGPT can give me such great responses, then why is this other stuff not available? So I started doing more and more research. Um, and in the meantime, I was like, let me put, like, as a test run, a Discord bot up with some of my AI experiments. So I did like a couple LLM stuff, some chat GPT integrations, like some characters, stuff like that, some like automatic conversation stuff, some image generation, jokes, like the same stuff everyone kind of does when they first start goofing off with it. And it was amazing. Like my friends all joined the Discord, their friends started joining it, everyone was playing with it, and I go, I started businesses before. I go, there's something interesting here. There's definitely some traction, and it was fun for me to use. Like I really liked playing with the randomness that AI can bring. It gives you like what you think you want. It takes that and it mixes it with what it thinks you want, and you get something special each time. So I remember when I first started messing around on the internet in the early '90s, and it was like, you go to a website and you'd watch the image load, and then at some point we started getting videos, and you'd get like a frame every second, and it was terrible quality, really low resolution, but it was amazing at the time. I don't remember thinking to myself, man, this quality sucks. I remember thinking to myself, this is amazing that I have this. I can get images off the websites. I'm getting like video clips. Like it just blew my mind. So over that period of time, when everyone was focused on, oh, the quality sucks, it's not as good as my TV, it'll never be as good as my TV, it'll never be as good as my CD player or my DVD player, it just kept iterating, chugging along, and eventually surpassed all those things. And so when I did my first initial deep dive into video, I don't know if you guys saw like the original Will Smith eating spaghetti videos. They were,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They were like it was like a horror show, right?
yeah, right. And all the AI videos were like these horror shows of like craziness, and they had like Shutterstock logos on them, and so. But when I saw it, my instant thought was, all right, this can be done. Like, this is going to happen. Like, it wasn't like, how terrible is this? I can't deliver this to somebody. It was like, how do I take this foundation and build on it to get something better out of it? So I found Discord that had a lot of the leading tinkerers in AI video in it, and I made friends with Spencer in there, Sir Spence. He now works for Runway ML, but he was the developer of Zeroscope 2, and Zeroscope 2 took the original base model scope and he fine tuned it. He got rid of all the garbage, made it really good, and then all of a sudden had like a really usable video model, like the first open source usable video model. So when I connected with him, we started collaborating right away. Um, I gave him like some compute, and I'm not like a rich guy or anything, but I just saw it. I believed in it. So I was like, I'll fund this. I believe what it can do. He developed Zeroscope 3, which is what we launched our video platform with. And we still have that like on certain flags. You can still pull up our old video models.
And that's an open source video creation tool.
Yeah, yeah. So when it's an AI model, Zeroscope, so it's not a tool; it's an AI model that you can inference. So when when it launched, I was like, I thought it was cool, like I thought we had something really original. And then a couple YouTubers like picked it up, and it just must have been like the right time of everything. All of a sudden, we got like 15,000 people flooded in over the next few weeks, and everybody was using it and blowing it up. And my whole goal always was to provide a full suite of tools. So I continued on. I started. I funded some other guys building video stuff, but I focused a lot like on our upgrading our tools on video, on audio generation, speech, lip syncing, and basically any workflow that I could imagine would be a useful tool for media generation. I started incorporating into Full Journey. And the concept of Full Journey is it's really an homage to Midjourney, who I just think is the most incredible company and has built something really revolutionary. And I did my best to try to reverse engineer and build upon what they did, and then try to provide a full suite of tools. Because what I was finding when I was using Midjourney is I was just taking their images and taking it other places, and I wanted one place where I could do everything in one spot. So that's what I ended up building with this. We were free for a really long time until I burned through all my available money. And then now we have a subscription package, and we've got a bunch of members.
So how does it work from the user side when they go onto your Full Journey website or platform? Walk me through what that looks like.
Sure thing. Yeah. So they go on to FullJourney.ai and they can go ahead and log in with their Discord ID. They can join the Discord from there, and they can subscribe from there. If you join the Discord, you get a free trial. We give 50 credits a month out to everybody. So essentially, it's a free tier that'll every month it'll refresh for you. You can generate all the same stuff, the images, AI images with words in them, videos with words in them, movies, soundtracks, music, speech, lip syncs. Got a large variety of tools available for them. And they go into the Discord, they press /help. It'll give them a list of all the tools. On the website, too, it'll have a list of all the commands they can use. And they can just drop into one of the chat channels and say hi and ask for help.
So just for the audience out there, Full Journey is your main component is the text to video, correct?
When I look at like the logs of everything that runs, it's probably a combination of the different video models and the image models that get used the most. But speech, we're using a couple million characters of speech a month. We're using, yeah, everything pretty much is getting used a lot. We get a lot of deep fakes getting made in there, and like the lip sync videos and things like that. Like these are all different forms, I guess, of media, right? So the idea is that all these tools they work together so you can build like multimedia whether that's videos with sound, or some people are making audiobooks or whatever it is. Like, their goal is, we want to be able to provide the media editing tools to create that in one spot.
Gotcha. So for the audience out there, if it's so, like, a bunch of tools exist already, like Midjourney is awesome. And I use it every day for image creation, but this can do FullJourney can do that as well. Also, Runway that was mentioned by Charles a little bit ago. That's more for video generation and video editing. So there's that tool out there. And there's another video editing. Yeah, a lot of labs, text to speech, but a FullJourney can do everything. So in one place.
Well, right, there's DID that does like the lip sync videos. Like, the idea is, I want to bring all this under one roof for one very reasonably priced subscription. So you can use all the image editing tools for only $10 a month, gets you unlimited. I think the cheapest Midjourney plan for unlimited is $30, but really the $60 plan is a real unlimited plan. And then for our video plans are $30 a month, and then you can do those annually. It brings them down like 30% in cost.
Now, one thing that struck me finding your project was it was hard to find. Like, and when I found it, I was blown away how good it is. I mean, I was like, wow, this is awesome. I think I found it on this FullJourney subreddit.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so I'm like, in this whole process that I've been building it, my focus has really been on the development of it, and spent a lot of my time doing the development. If you're a developer, you understand how that is. And so I'm I'm still working on the marketing component. I haven't decided how I want to market it yet. We're building phone app tools and web app tools for all the different commands, so that you can do everything like from a phone app or from the web. So that's, I've kind of been holding a little bit off on the marketing for that. We're not funded, so I'm kind of bootstrapped. So we're really all organic growth at this point. I have never paid for any marketing, which is why you had a hard time finding me.
But it goes to show. I think if you do market it, it should. I think should take off pretty quick. So
Thanks so much. That's the hope. Yeah.
like, can you take us through on how it actually works in layman's terms? Because people are going to Discord and they're typing, "Make me a video of a waterfall and a boat going over the top of it," or something like that. It could be anything, right? And then it outputs it. Like, how does that actually work? 'Cause it's pretty freaking incredible. And then also, like, how long can the videos be? How long can you make them right now in FullJourney?
So something I just implemented just now for the members is, you can DM the bot what you want, and instead of having to use slash commands, you can just talk to it like a chat bot, like, "Hey, make me an image of a frog," and it'll make you a cool image of a frog, and you can go, "Okay, that's cool. Can you make that into a movie?" And it'll make it into a movie for you. So that's what I just got implemented today. And how does it do it? Each one of these AI media creations are done with different AI models. Um, Except for our speak command, which uses 11 Labs API, and our Dolly 3 command, which uses Dolly 3 API. But all the others, I believe, except for those, are using all open source models or models that we have fine tuned or created. And those are all running on a system called Kubernetes. And that's a way of clustering machines together so that you can scale things out. But in layman's terms, we've got like little AI guys that are like, in the cloud, and you tell it what you want, and it uses diffusion for most of the stuff. So the way diffusion works is it throws like a splatter at the wall and starts pulling little pieces off of it until it starts resembling what you want. It uses a bunch of other images that it was trained on, so that it understands different patterns for different words, so that it can take all of those. It can take the context of what you want, and as it starts pulling away different parts of the image to create an image, basically, essentially like sculpting an image, it knows that an image with that caption usually looks kind of like this, and it has like a whole bunch of different possibilities as it starts filling in. And depending on the way you set up the model with a bunch of different parameters, you can get all types of different output. So we have fine tuned all of our models to output in a way that we like the best, that we think are giving the best results. And yeah, we're just on top of it. Whatever the newest stuff is coming out, we're trying to implement it, and then we are building custom workflows on how to usefully use those new models. There's always new models coming out, but it's not always useful to just use the model directly. But sometimes you can implement the model in a workflow so that you can generate a better video or a better image or something based on interfacing with a few models before you take it directly to the inference.
So are you creating your own custom models to train, for example, the video aspect of Full Journey, or you're using pretty
Yeah, so that would have been that's like zero scope three. With the video model, we also use other open source models. Um, we use Video Crafter right now. I just implemented that. I've got Hotshot XL in there for hot shots. I've got Animate Diff on there. That's one of the hotter open source models right now for creating AI videos. Um, and you asked me, oh, sorry, about how long they can be. They videos range up to 8 seconds is how long they can be.
And do you know how it works? Like you're using the open source models.
Your movie's 12 seconds, but that's divided by 3 second clips, if that makes sense. You can do a 12-second movie or an 8 second single scene is the longest single scene.
Got it. But if you do the 12-second, then it breaks it into 3 4 second or 4 3 second videos. Or
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The idea being that it's going to create 4 scenes of a movie with a soundtrack and put it together.
so you're using the open source models for the video, a combination of different things. Like, how does it know where to move things? Like, do you know how that works in the back end? Like, how does it, if you want, motorcycle going across the screen, like how does it?
Okay, yeah, good question. So there's models for movement as well that they're implemented with. Those are called motion modules, and that generally knows based on what it sees in the image the way those are supposed to move in combination with the prompt.
Cool thing that Runway released last week is like you can
Oh my god, how cool the touch thing!
touch it and then say I want motion here.
So cool. I want to build that so bad. That's in my to do list right now.
All right. I'm sure your to-do list is gigantic.
I never stop like I have my laptop on me all the time and I get an idea and I just hammer it out. And so my to-do list isn't too bad because I just do it right away. Um, I just probably I I have a couple things on my to-do list that are bigger projects that are a little bit tougher to tackle like that. But for the most part, my to-do list is not too bad. I want to add to the user experience for the way that I'm handling the creations. So right now I have it set up, like I told you, through the chat that you can conversationally talk to it to create the media. I want that to go deeper. Like I just added live search results to that, but I want to chain those things together so that you could um, do like a combination request of things like, hey, can you search for this? And if it's that, then do this kind of thing. Um, and the web app and the phone apps are really like primary right now. I have a developer that works with me named Asa, and he's our React developer. He's the one putting together the phone apps with the backend code that I've provided. So we should hopefully have those up within the next like 2 months. That's one of those bigger projects that's going to take a little bit longer. Um, but that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, I don't want to market it until I have a place to send people because it's hard to market people to Discord. Right? So I do a Google Live to Discord. I'm just having a hard time visualizing that.
It's shocking that Midjourney doesn't have a website yet because their tool's incredible. Like I know.
They have a website, but you just can't generate on the website, right? Like, yeah, it's interesting that they have it that way. I wonder why.
Yeah, and their website's cool looking. It's got like that cool.
They have a great web. Dude, they're great. I've been following the guy David Holtz from the VR days. He was a vision developer. Like they did Leap Motion was like this cool thing that I had where you attach it to your VR set and it can track like stuff like that. He
It got like hundreds of millions of dollars invested. Wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Dude, that's a real dude. Like that's not just some guy goofing off. That's a real guy. So there's probably a lot of money behind Midjourney as well. They got a huge head start on everybody, and they're fantastic. So I can't say enough about them. I hope one day that we can even be spoken in the same breath as them.
Yeah, well, I think you guys are heading in the right direction. What I don't want to talk about
3D models. That's one more thing that it's on my text to 3D models is one more thing on my agenda. You were asking, Hunter. Yeah, so if you go like, I mean, it can be for anything. It can be for VR. You can pull assets into like your home environment. It can be for anything that you would use like a 3D object file for. And you can say, okay, can I get like a 3D model of like a muscular guy wearing a police uniform, and poof, you'll have like a full 3D model of that. That's one of the things on the list that I want to do. Um, there's some good tools out there for that right now. It's going to take a little bit of refinement. I don't like to put anything out until it's good enough for what the customers are expecting of us. So, but when I see stuff that's close, I start working on it and getting it refined. So as soon as it's ready, I'll have that ready to go out the door.
I don't want to talk about it too much, but like just because I don't know if our audience is a UFC crowd or not, but that's so cool that you were in the UFC. I don't like people probably don't picture UFC fighters as computer programmers.
They're usually not. They're usually not. I don't know. I don't know many other ones.
No, so that's crazy. Like when you work out, is it help you code like and do that stuff after you're done like doing an exhausting workout?
When I'm exhausted from working out, I usually don't want to coach.
Yeah, right. That's what I would think. Yeah.
It's interesting. So, jiu-jitsu, which is one of the, I'm a black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and that's one of the bigger aspects of mixed martial arts. Um, it's usually thought of as like an engineering type martial art. There's a lot of structural components, like if and else type movements that are involved in how that works and the way you systematically break down like the body and leverage points and things like that. It jiu-jitsu really attracts a lot of engineers. So I do have software developers that do jiu-jitsu in my gym. I've got a bunch of them. Well, I think he's a blue belt right now. He's a blue belt. Yeah. It takes like 10 years to get to your black belt usually. So it'll be a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, it's attractive to people like that. Once they start doing it, it's hard for them to stop. Especially if you're somewhat competitive too. It mixes with all the right things there. Um, I haven't met a lot of professional fighters that do development. There was one guy I met early on, Joe Lozon, who's a PHP developer, like back when I first started, which is like the early or late 90s. I don't know if he still does that. Uh, Back in the 90s, like anything you were into that you were following online, you were always usually among developers because there wasn't a lot of people online back then, you know? So like there was, there's always were developers mixed into everything. But yeah, I think the UFC aspect of it, it's unique in this scenario, but it's also it allows me to look at things from a different perspective. I think I've seen the world from a different viewpoint than most developers. Um, I've done a lot of business in a lot of different places with all kinds of people from when I was an agent, and I just have a unique perspective, I would say, and I think that it helps me to create my experiences more for the layman. What I'm trying to create is like the easy button for AI media creation. Like I want anyone to be able to use our tools to do whatever they want without having to really understand too much. Um, so I want any of my guys that I've trained with that fight in the UFC to be able to use it and take pictures of themselves and create Lauras and send people pictures of them as a Christmas card climbing a mountain or something. And it should be easy. So that's the goal of what I'm trying to create. I want them to have the access to all these amazing things that AI can create without having to really know anything about how it works or why it works or anything. Just as easy as like talking into your phone. Hey, make me a picture of a frog jumping out of a tree, and then it'll do that.
Thing. It's like I think you got to get to that point for people to use it, like with email, right? Like back in the day, you had to probably set up an email server and do all that stuff. But now, grandparents use it every day, so it's like it's got to be that easy, understandable. Can you tell us one story about the UFC or your experience with the UFC that stands out, or that it's like your most vivid memory?
Man, there was a lot of them. So I remember the first time I ever fought in the UFC. I got I started talking to their matchmaker right away. Like when I knew like I was on track, was one of the top prospects. And so I got a hold of their matchmaker. I started talking to him and I go, hey, I don't know if you know who I am, this, that. He goes, no, I know who you are. I go, okay, can you tell me what it would take for me to get into UFC? And he helped me lay out a plan that I was able to do and get in by beating like certain guys that he felt like were good enough quality to prove myself, kind of thing.
That we would know? Like, this sounds like it was in the past a while ago, but
So my last fight was a pretty famous guy. I fought a guy named Michael Bisping. He's a UFC champion, and yeah, he was a tough fight. And I fought a lot of good guys before him. I fought a guy named Dave Loazo, who was a title contender. Um, my my fighting, my UFC career was an interesting time of my life because I got like not only did I do like the UFC stuff, but I was on their Ultimate Fighter TV show. So I was like on the reality show that I never really planned to do any of those things in my life, like to be on TV or anything. So it was like a very interesting thing that happened early on in my life, and it helped open up a lot of doors for me, like in all different areas. Like gives you a lot of confidence to just do what you feel like you can do anything if you can, like go from being a computer programmer to fighting in the UFC. Like once you do that, you go, okay, I feel like I can do anything.
yeah, I feel like that's a problem with people, like with coders and programmers, is they start something and anytime things get tough, they give up. So like that kind of training with UFC, you're trained all the time to like not give up, fight. Yeah, there's no option. So yeah, that's cool. But you were saying, what was the moment that you remember? The
So when I got to UFC the first time, there was a guy that was like a heavyweight champion of the UFC, Andrei Arlovsky. He was like this big, scary Russian guy, and I remember I just got to the UFC and I was such a fan of everything, and I couldn't even imagine ever meeting these guys. And I remember all week I was walking around taking pictures with everybody, except for this one guy. I was so scared of him, I couldn't even know what to say. And eventually, at the end of the time, I got a picture with him. He ended up winning his fight, becoming world champion, and I go, man, like it just was for me like you get to meet your heroes, like that's I think like if I get to meet some of my heroes in computing would be the same way for me. You have these people that you have only ever read about, heard about, seen on TV. And so for me, like that best experience in the UFC for me was the first time I went there that week, and I got to meet all these guys. I got to meet all the people that I was always such a huge fan of and still a fan of.
Yeah, we sometimes we get together and watch the fights. I even started a few months ago, started doing MMA at a gym here in Knoxville Martial Arts Academy. And it is awesome. I mean, getting to learn, you mentioned if then, if then, I mean, that seems like a lot of what mixed martial arts is, if they do this, then you're going to do this. If they're leaning this way, then you're going to do this. If their hands here,
And you guys are tech guys in good shape, like that's such an important thing. Like if you want to be able to live a full life and um, enjoy what you're doing, then you need to take care of your body as well as your mind. Like one of the things when I'm developing and I get like you hit those roadblocks, like you say, and I just put it down. I get fresh eyes. Like I'll put it down. I'll go train. I'll do something else, and I'll come back to it. I don't accept that I'm quitting. Like I just not going to quit. I'm going to get it done. And I just need to rethink how I'm approaching it. And that's the same thing. Like for you guys to be like for you to be training hunters, is such a great thing, and it'll help you to understand. Some point you're going to come across a situation you go, man, I feel like I'm not getting any better. I'm having a hard time with this, or I'm having a hard time with that. And then some time will pass, and then all of a sudden you'll smash right through that barrier that you had. And you'll do that enough times that you'll start to understand, like, I can get through any barrier. Everything is a temporary limitation. Everything's never been done until it's done. And so I think that's a really important skill set for a developer and mindset is to be able to push through complicated things, roadblocks. Man, once you see ChatGPT and how that can exist, you go, I can do anything. Like if somebody can build that, I just can't even conceive of going from like a standard help chat bot that we had like, 10 years ago, 5, 7 years ago, to going from that to like a real LLM. It's it really just changes your whole concept of what can be done.
It's nuts. People are probably going to look back, 20 years from now, and they'll ask the question, "Do you remember the first time you talked to ChatGPT?" It's like that crazy of a tool, you know?
Oh my god, do you remember your first time?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you been messing with any of the new features that they released in the last week?
Yeah, the ChatGPTs are pretty insane. I just did a video on it last night. I haven't used it yet, but I haven't used it for myself. But I just saw I researched cool ones, and the coolest ones were like logo creation, thumbnail creation. You can create Twitter tweets. They had an AI girlfriend. Like I used a Dolly 3 somehow. I tested it. I said, make me a thumbnail of Mr. Beast, and it made a pretty amazing thumbnail. I mean, it didn't look like Mr. Beast at all because they're censoring celebrity likelinesses, but the thumbnail looked really good.
Oh, amazing. So I'm gonna look into that. I haven't really looked into the GPTs at all. So it allows you to interject code in between, like,
It allows you to create your own chatbot. So if you want to create a chatbot about UFC, right, you could upload every document that ever existed to this chatbot. It will learn about the UFC by the documents you upload or the text you put in, and then you can ask it any question you want about the UFC, and it will answer you. So it'd be like a UFC chatbot.
so cool. All right, yeah, I need to experiment with that. I plugged the Dolly 3 in on Full Journey. People loved it. It's really good.
It's gotten a lot better too. It's almost
Oh, it's so good. And then the chat content length in the GPT-4 Turbo is awesome. Like 128K tokens is unreal.
yeah, that's like 300 pages of text or something. Like it's insane.
So that's how I built my the web live web interaction that I have for it. So like now I'm pulling up like tons of web content. I'm sending it all through GPT and I'm having it summarize it, and it's coming out amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's such a huge time saver in so many aspects of our lives. It's ridiculous. One of the things we like to ask everybody is, where do you see AI going in general? Like some people think it's going to kill humanity. Some people think it's going to coexist with us. Like, where do you see it going in general? Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a really good question. And I go back and forth with it even in my own head. Um, it's definitely going to disrupt almost everything as we know it. And even things that we think are not disruptible are probably disruptible. Because once you connect AI with robotics, pretty much can do almost anything once you get it fine tuned enough. So, like, there's not going to be a lot that a human is going to be needed for with enough of that. You need somebody to create the AI and the robotics and the development, but something tells me that they're going to be able to have AI do that. Like, why wouldn't you be able to have AI handle everything from top to bottom, including um, what's next to do? So I could imagine like one or person or a chair, a board of people could operate AI as an entire company, and that's kind of scary. Um, we need productivity as humans. We need to be productive. We're not meant to sit at home and do nothing all day. Um, it's not healthy for us. We need to feel like we're contributing to the world and to society, and we need to be building things and using our intuition, our creativity. So I don't know exactly how that's going to shake out. I know people generally have um, a desire and a need for human connection. So I think that there's going to always be a competing product for almost everything that's AI. There'll be a competing non-AI solution because people won't want AI for some things. I imagine there's going to be tons of legislation. We're going to see how that shakes out. That'll probably control a lot of how companies can use AI. Like if it's copyrightable, that's a big thing. There's so many things that, like, if you can't copyright what it writes, then can you use it? Like, and then how there's so many variables that it's really, I think, impossible to predict how it shakes out. and I want to be able to contribute and play a part in how it shapes out instead of hearing about it.
Right, right. It's one thing that you mentioned is like a lot of people think that we're gonna it's AI is gonna make it so we don't have to work, right? Like humans won't have to work. Not a good thing. Exactly. What are you gonna do? Sit around and like just think all day? I mean, it would drive people insane.
You're doing philosophy, right, Hunter? That's what Hunter's going to do. He's going to sit around.
Great. It actually sounded great.
I think, like in general, you need to be needed as a human. Once you're not needed anymore, it changes your whole direction, your feeling, your emotion, your self worth. So I think and people are never gonna not like. There's no way that you could tell me to not go and build things. So like if AI was providing every job, I would still want to go build something. So I would use AI to go build something, but I'm still gonna build something. So I don't, man, it's really hard for me to envision it. I would love to see like some movies on how this plays out. I'd really it's how do you even know? Like once one thing happens, it's going to create so many cascading butterfly effects that hopefully we will have things in place to stop ourselves from being killed by AI, by being destroyed by AI. I could certainly see the possibility of that existing. Um, if AI becomes completely self sufficient, it can generate its own electricity, it can fix itself, it can build more off of where it started, and it sees us as a threat. I would like to think that there are some type of safeguards in place to stop it from acting out on that. Um, we're going to use AI, I'm sure, in all types of weaponry. That's both interesting and concerning, but I don't see how it doesn't happen. Like if I'm building weaponry right now, how am I not utilizing AI? So I'm sure they all are.
It's like you have to use it because someone else is going to. It's like that's how AI.
Like, why wouldn't you want AI? Like if you're building missiles that are self-guided, instead of like just having it attracted by heat, you want to use AI to make sure you're hitting the right target. You know, there's so many variables. But then what happens if that AI decides it wants to hit a different target? Like it wanted to give you 3 arms instead of 2. You know, it happens sometimes. It hallucinates.
Well, we're in for a wild ride, that's for sure. It's gonna be an interesting time to live. It'll be.
Yeah, for sure.
If you want to promote anything, now's the time, Charles. It's been fascinating to talk to you. I could talk to you for 3 hours. So
Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And I'm always available to you guys if you ever want to connect back again. I'm just promoting Full Journey right now, FullJourney.ai. It's very advanced tool set for anyone that wants to try to use AI. So basically, if you're anyone out there that wants to get into it in a granular way, you can do that. But if you also just want to speak directly to the bot and have it make things for you and be able to do all kinds of things, we'll provide that solution for you as well.
awesome. So it's FullJourney.ai, and yeah, you should go check it out.
And then be sure to subscribe to Ryan and I's AI newsletter. It's a weekday newsletter, and then we do deep dive articles like we will do on Full Journey here on Sundays as well. It's fry-ai.com.
Fry AI. Don't miss it, guys. Thanks so much.